Hello everyone, I'm Brennan, and this year I think I'm gonna meet my soulmate. I've just manifested it.
This is so dumb.
I think I've just decided that I'm kind of in a place where I'm ready to meet my husband, the father of my children. It's about time. I think that I'm just ready, but I'm not ready to put in the work that requires, because it requires dating. And that just feels like a lot. I have very high standards. I have very low tolerance for being anywhere that I don't want to be or being in front of anyone that I don't want to be in front of. And I feel like there's a lot of that when it comes to dating. So my plan is to just do what I'm doing, and maybe he'll just walk through the door at some point, we'll lock eyes and decide to make a lifelong commitment to support and respect and love each other for the rest of our lives. But there's someone on the internet who has taken a different, more active approach towards finding their soulmate. Our girl, Molly Rutter. I can't believe we're gonna admit this, but I have a soft spot for her. Maybe I have a soft spot for the trolls of the internet. Maybe I have a soft spot for the relatively normal people that go viral for absolutely insane shit and then just find themselves with a million haters all at once and decide to just move forward with that and keep doing what they're doing because they're making some money off of it. Like, you go, girl. Okay, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. The jury is still out on Molly Rutter. We are going to decide if she's more just a little cringy or actually canceled. Yeah, we're doing another cringe or canceled, okay? We're going to react to Molly Rutter's dating Rant that she posted. It's about like a 20-minute TikTok, which is still blows my mind that you can do really long TikToks like that. But first, let me explain who Molly Rutter is. She is a TikToker who vlogs all of her dates.
My first date in like a month. Vibes are still good. We already talked about meeting up for another date. It ended terribly. I'll tell you all about it tomorrow. It was so bad in the end.
Camera eats first?
Yep. Okay, well, like, are we for real right now? He's a very private person, and out of respect for him, I'm not going to disclose more. Oh my god, okay, so I'm about to FaceTime date that guy. I think that went well, but I'm just feeling a little bit weird right now because he ended it so abruptly. Like, it's 6:30 p.m. Didn't text me. So obviously we're not meeting. And I'm running about 30 minutes late. Really nervous for this date.
Every date that she goes on, every person that she talks to, from situationship to potential soulmate, she is spilling the tea about everything. Her whole thought process, what she thinks the man is thinking, what she thinks, quite a bit of what she thinks, and I've watched all of it. I keep track of that girl. Every few months, she pops up on your For You page again with some other shenanigans that she's gotten herself into. Her controversies range from dating men that are perhaps below her generation, which can be problematic, to belittling domestic abuse survivors. There's some issues here, and I'm perhaps regretting what I just said about being on her side. I'm not on her side, okay?
Side. I am on nobody's side because nobody is on my side.
I just want to go in with an open mind. Perhaps she is not evil and she's just a little silly. But I guess we're gonna find out together in Cringe or Canceled. Alright, welcome to Cringe or Canceled. Usually I have a whiteboard for this, but I'm still using that for my video about these two gay British emo YouTubers, Dan and Phil. Now, as you can see, I'm a Dan and Phil fan, so I am no stranger to being cringe. But that's not the kind of cringe I'm talking about today. Cringe culture is dead. We didn't kill the cringe, we killed the part of us that cringes. I'm not talking about blue hair and liking things. I'm talking about the things that are actually cringe, like what we may see from Molly Rutter lying stretching the truth, catfishing. Now, not catfishing like Neve would investigate. The kind of catfishing that we are all used to getting played by. You know, using really, really old photos of yourself. Using photos of yourself that perhaps look better or different than you actually look. Like, okay, we all use the best possible photos of ourselves for our profile pictures, but there's a difference between choosing the photo you took this year that has the best lighting and choosing a photo of you from 5 years ago where you look pretty much like a completely different person. That is something that Molly Rutter is accused of.
A lot of the photos are clearly like pretty old and just like not an accurate representation of like what she looks like on TikTok.
I don't think that'll show up in Molly Rutter's own Dating Wrapped, so I'm just gonna put the cringe point there already because it has been discussed en masse because she is so public about her dating life. Of course, her dating profiles have been shared on Reddit and all the social medias and platforms that exist to make our lives more difficult. I personally think that dating profiles, unfortunately, are public information. They go out onto a public platform. I think it's only natural if you make all of your content about dating that your dating profile will come out and come into question and be picked apart. It's unfortunate. It's maybe not nice. If you don't want your dating life to be picked apart and you don't want your dating profile to be picked apart, don't make content about dating. And that opinion does not come from a judgmental bystander. That opinion comes from me, who has been creating content for 10 years, and I've had to learn the hard way that if you don't want something picked apart by the internet, you just cannot put it on the internet. What did I say that this was for? Oh yeah, having an inaccurate dating profile. That's a good example of something that's like kind of cringe. And then we've got the canceled count. Now, cancelable offenses are going to be a higher level of crimes against humanity, right? Things that cause actual harm to society, like with Molly Rutter. We already have a canceled point for her here because of what happened a few months ago during Halloween. She staged a domestic violence incident for an ad.
Like Beyonce, sitting in front of my air conditioner waiting for my Uber. Wait. Scary state. And the caption for this initial TikTok was, first of all, I'm safe. I gotta take care of myself tonight and process what happened, but I'll give you a full story time tomorrow. I can't believe this is my life. Hashtag dating in your 30s, hashtag date from hell. And needless to say, given the fact that this was like in line with so much of her other content, like people very much thought it was real and people very much were scared. Then she comes back with this clip.
It was the highly anticipated recap of my date from hell. Literally, the scariest date I have ever gone on in my life. My zombie boyfriend, he took me to get my makeup done by a makeup artist, and I got to match him with the zombie attire, so we were a cute little undead couple. Sorry to scare you.
The caption was, you may have already guessed it, ... My date actually happened in hell. At Fright World, hashtag dating story time, date from hell, haunted house, Halloween date night, fall date ideas, whatever. That's right, folks. This was an ad for a haunted house. People were rightfully pissed about this. It was also in October, which is DV Awareness Month.
Not ideal, Molly. That's pretty cancelable. Editing Reddit here, so there is a cancel count that I failed to mention. Molly Rutter totally crashed out over the US election results after never making political content until after the election. She made many videos about how disappointed she was in American democracy and all of that. It was very white feminist of her, and I'll let Megan Ann kind of explain how that went down. Megan Ann is the YouTuber who made a Molly Rutter history lesson. I think it is one of the best like timelines of Molly Rutter's shenanigans, because a lot of the other videos you'll see about Molly Rutter are like super mean, but Megan Ann does a really great job of being as charitable as possible while also like holding her accountable for her shit.
Next week I'm planning to go to my local library. I'm going to check out books so that I can learn more about the real history behind the United States of America. I'm going to read more books about how our government works and is run. I want to learn a lot more about economics. I also want to consume literature that's written by marginalized groups. I'm specifically thinking in my head Black women. I'm also thinking about Black women in terms of consumer items that I promote on my TikTok. These are just things that are spinning around in my head that I know I'm personally going to do to take action, because the biggest thing in my mind that I'm trying to do is focus on what I can control. And I feel pretty empowered knowing that I can control new information and knowledge. And I know that no matter what happens in the state of this country, no matter what rights are taken away from me, no one can take away my knowledge. And so I'm really, really trying to focus on that, because that makes me feel powerful. My whole world has shifted. My perspective is completely different than it was a few days ago. The direction I want to take my platform is very different than it was a few days ago. As dark as this time is, I'm really looking forward to this new direction for me personally and professionally, and I really look forward to sharing that with you all.
A lot of people were actually like agreeing with her on how the landscape of dating and everything is going to change, and how they like understand why she feels that kind of content is trivial. But a lot of people, myself included, were clocking her on how she's saying that she's just now starting to take the time to educate herself on the real history of the US and how the government works, and how she wants to start listening more to the voices of marginalized communities, but also more specifically Black women. And a lot of people, mainly Black women, were in her comments saying how much of a privilege it is for her to just now start caring about these things and listening to them as a 32, 33-year-old person. And they also called her out for how performative this seems, which I don't disagree with.
And it's okay for you to have judgments towards me and negative opinions about me not having used my platform to talk about those things before. I think that's a very valid criticism, and I don't blame you for thinking that way of me. At the end of the day, though, like I said in previous videos, just because I didn't before advocate and use my platform to talk about politics or advocacy or to talk about marginalized communities and educate people doesn't mean that it's wrong for me to start doing it now. I have always had privilege as a white person. I think I've always had privilege as a cis woman. I know that I've had massive amounts of privilege in those ways where legislation in the United States did not negatively impact me. And now it is true, it is a fact that there's legislation in this country that could negatively impact me, and will, and it already has negatively impacted many women in this country. Now, that being said, just because I've never posted about my political views online doesn't mean that I've never cared. I will say that what's currently happening is lit fire under my ass, to where I don't even feel like I have a choice anymore but to use my platform to talk about this.
Your content is monetized, which I imagine it is. You will quite literally be profiting off of the trauma of marginalized communities. And she responds with this.
Okay, so I sincerely wonder, what is the answer to that? That's like saying someone like Drew Wallow, who has this platform that supports marginalized community and women and empowers them. That's like saying every dollar that she's made off her platform is wrong. Someone like Dean Withers, who has millions of followers, and every single day goes live to debate people with really bigoted and misogynistic and sexist and homophobic and racist beliefs. He debates them every single day, and it has his platform entirely based on educating and advocating for good. So that's saying every dollar that he makes is profiting off of marginalized people? Like, I just don't know, like, what's the answer to this? Like, I have a platform already, I have hundreds of thousands of followers, and I am going to use that platform for good. And yes, that will mean that I'll make money off the TikTok Creator Fund. That means that if I continue to post products that I want to promote or advertise, or if I get brand deals, that yes, I'll make money off of that. I don't understand what the argument is here. I really don't.
And I put this one in here because she, like, specifically singles out Drew Wallow, who is quite literally a marginalized Samoan woman. Like, just an interesting person to bring into this argument. And then she goes on to say this to another comment, just saying, like, correct to her last video.
So if we were to continue with that logic and that line of thinking, then that would mean that, for example, right now, with how women in many states in the U.S. have lost their right to unrestricted abortions, then that would also mean that, since it doesn't affect men, that would mean that men should not at all be doing anything in their spheres of influence to advocate. That would also mean people in the LGBTQ plus community, people who are straight, that means they should not be advocating for those people. That would mean people who are not trans should not be advocating for trans people. I understand how it comes across. I understand that I didn't previously use my platform to talk about these things, that it makes it seem disingenuous. It makes it seem like I'm just doing it now because it affects me, that I'm just doing it now to make money. And like I said before, I completely understand where you're coming from for that. It's okay if you don't believe me, but I know in my soul, in my heart, that I am doing this for genuine reasons, to genuinely do good. And maybe I'll prove that to you over time, or maybe I won't.
She's failing to unlearn the racism and everything that we have had just like instilled in us by being white, that us as white women, we need to shut up and listen when marginalized women come in and talk to us about their thoughts, feelings, and experiences. And she's just not doing that. And she's having a 2319 white woman crash out and talking about how she continues to be correct. And I'm like, Molly, shut up and listen. After all of this and like fighting with marginalized women in her comment section about how she doesn't understand what they're saying and how she's right, she then proceeded to post an ad for a TikTok shop Christmas tree. So, yep.
The world might not feel too bright right now, but I got a Christmas tree in the mail to TikTok shop. I think my soul needs it.
Just add a cancel count or many cancel counts for the white feminism of it all, and take Molly Rutter's politics with no grains of salt. Don't even take Molly Rutter's politics at all. It's not her lane, and she should stay out of it. I don't know if Molly's gonna admit to any cancelable behaviors here, but that's okay, because 5 cringe points equals 1 canceled point. I think if you do 5 cringe things in a row, you should get canceled. I gotta be careful here. I know someone's gonna turn this back on me at some point, but that's the game. Let's see how Molly plays.
Hello and welcome to the highly anticipated Dating Rant 2024 edition. We have some really awesome things. We had some not so awesome things that happened. Let's get into it, shall we? First off, I went on a total of 10 first dates this year. Not gonna lie.
That is not nearly as many as I thought that she's been on, okay? Especially for people that say that she makes up dates for content. I don't think she makes them up. Everything she talks about is perhaps more real than we want to believe.
That number feels pretty small to me, but last year when I did my dating Wrapped, I had 22 dates total, but it was over the course of like 2.5 years. So I think this is pretty much still in line with how many dates I normally go on. And my goals for the year in dating were to have more activity dates. I noticed in last year's data that the vast majority of my dates were at bars. And so I wanted to put in more effort this year to go on more activity dates. And I think I did live up to it. We'll get into that later. Secondly, my goal was just to make some fun new connections in Buffalo. I moved back to my hometown. I was living in Istanbul, Turkey for 3.5 years. So I just wanted to see what the dating pool was like in Buffalo, you know? And then last but not least, as always, fill my social battery. I'm an extroverted extrovert. I feel more balanced when I've socialized with people, so it is completely necessary for me to go out into the world and socialize. And one of the ways I do that is dating.
Those are realistic goals. I don't know. I think sometimes Molly paints a perhaps better version of herself for the internet than we have seen from her in her content. I think that what we've seen in the past, year that she's been posting is that she has higher expectations when it comes to actually dating. She has higher expectations for the men that she's pursuing relationships with. And this is a criticism that I've seen. If a man cancels on her, it'll ruin her day. It'll really take up a lot of her mental space. She may say that those were her goals for dating, but I don't know if that is actually how she talked about her dating life. I'll leave it alone, Molly, but I do think that is those are really good dating goals. I just don't know if
the data's completely split on this one. Half the guys I met on Bumble, the other half I met on Hinge. Contrary to last year's data, I did not meet anyone out in the wild. I also did not meet any friends of friends. So this information is reminding me that I need my wing women. I need you. Where have you been?
I can't quite put my finger on why that's cringe. It's hard to expect your friends to set you up on dates. I think that Molly's friends definitely know that she wants to go on dates, and so if they're not setting her up, then perhaps it's not because of any shortcoming on their parts. Perhaps it's because they either just really don't know that many men, or they don't know men that would be into Molly, or perhaps they just don't want to be beholden to Molly's expectations.
I need men in public to approach me more, or I need to be putting in more of an effort to approach people out in the wild. Now, how many dates did I go on with these men? With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. With 8 of these men, we only lasted 1 date.
Okay, let me just say, I do love a PowerPoint video, but I will say, girl, white on white graphics is not ideal, especially for a filming your laptop screen format.
With one lucky guy, we went on 3 dates, and then with one lucky guy, we went on 2 dates. I don't really know what this data means. I just think it speaks to how rare it is to meet someone that you want to continue seeing. I went on 10 dates, and only 2 of them lasted more than 1 date.
I mean, that's true, but also it could be that you're catfishing on your profile. What she'll do is she'll be talking to somebody and she'll be flirting and the text will be great, and then she'll go on the date and then it's just not the same. And I think that maybe that's symptomatic of your profile is not perhaps accurate to what you actually look like now. Because that's what happens when you expect people to look one way from their profile pictures and then they look completely different in real life. But no, it's just because of men are bad. And it's just
what did we do on these dates?
more
Okay,
representative
so
of society.
I did actually meet my goal of going on more activity dates. Did I go on a lot of activity dates? No. Like, I did one park date, one smoothie date. These are the ones I'm considering activities. You probably wouldn't think a smoothie date is an activity, but I consider it one because it was like a walk through a park, went to a smoothie place, continued to walk around with my dogs. So that one
I
do
love your
consider an
graphics,
activity.
girl.
And then
You go.
surprise there.
You go, girl. I love the
Guys at
graphics.
bars. It's my comfort zone. I don't hate myself for doing that. It's just, I still think continuing my dating experiences, I really would like to do more activities. But it's just hard because going on a first date, it's really low maintenance and easy to just go to a bar. But then, like, oh my god, I actually come to think of it, both of my activity dates were the guys that I went on additional dates with. Interesting. So maybe my specific...
She brought her dogs to a date. That's a recurring thing. She brings her dogs everywhere, which I think is sweet. I think if she met a nice guy who also had dogs and they got along, that would be so cute. Or a guy that really likes dogs. I think that's great. I saw someone criticizing her for bringing her dogs on all of her dates, but I just don't really see that big of an issue with it, because if she's bringing the dogs to a place that, like, dogs are allowed, and she really loves her dogs, they're a big part of her personality, so if her dogs are incompatible with the guy, then I don't imagine she would want to date that guy anyway. Not to be dark or anything, but it is safer to go meet strangers with a dog or dogs, because they might not want to deal with the dogs if they have a plan to abduct you. Jesus, what am I fucking talking about? Okay, let's keep watching.
goal for next year should be go on activity dates for the first date. Okay.
I wish I could put this on 2 times speed.
What did these men do for a living? We had one guy who was a manager for a construction company. We had one guy who was a basketball coach. One guy who was...
I love how much tea she gives us. I love how much personal information she shares about these anonymous men. No one is doing it like her, okay? Like that. I'm just saying. No one is doing it like Molly Rutter.
A designer of pools. Like what? Like a little bit engineering, a little bit graphic design. Like, cool. We had 2 college students. One was in marketing. One was...
I'm not going to put a cringe point at college students, because you could go to college at any age. To give her the benefit of the doubt, she hasn't said the ages yet, if she will. I think that someone who's in college, especially if they're significantly younger, are just going to be in a different place in life than Molly Rutter is at 32. I wouldn't date a college guy. I wouldn't date unless they were like in like a graduate school, or like they were going to college later in life. Here's a frame of reference. I'm 26. I don't think that I would date anybody younger than like 23. 23 even seems young for me. I want someone to be in the same place in life as me, and I think that that's kind of what you have to go for if you're dating very seriously, and a college student just might not be in the same place in life as Molly Rutter is.
What were these? Yeah, this one was marketing, this one was business, this one was finance, and 2 were social workers, believe it or not. I think it's interesting that I managed to find 2 social workers. Anywho.
There's lots of social workers, girl.
Out of these 10 dates, how many of them did I actually like? 3. There were 3 guys that I wanted to continue seeing. Didn't quite lead to anything substantial. But out of the 10, 3 of them I was like, yeah, this guy can stick around. And the rest I was like, deuces. Who ended things? So we have 5 mutual ghosts. By far, I think that's the most common way in modern dating things end. They just fizzle out. You don't talk to each other again. So 5 was a mutual ghost. 3 is where they ended it. And then 2 is where I ended it. And the 3 where they ended it, those...
Mutual ghost, girl. I think ghosting is usually one-sided. I think one person stops talking to the other one. But honestly, now that I think about it, I've had mutual ghosting. where it kind of felt like both of us were just like not trying that hard. You know what? I'll give it to her, girl. Mutual ghosting. I'm using that.
So the guys that I actually liked and wanted to continue seeing, but they didn't reciprocate, so. Tier, not meant to be. Let's talk about height.
You go, girl. You just, water off a duck's back, just keep on moving.
I love me some short kids, okay? I'm only 5'2", so as long as you're at my height or taller, I really don't care. The shortest guy I went on a date with was 5'5", the tallest was 6 foot. But if you notice, there's a little star next to the 5'5" guy, because I'm like, was he though?
She said, dude, nice try. What do you want from dating content? You know, like, what do you want from somebody whose entire platform is based off of dating? This is what we want. We want the height range. We want their employment status. Like...
And I say this because in my experience, the vast majority of men lie about their height on the apps. I wish society didn't give men this pressure to lie about their height like that.
Girl, I don't think you can talk about lying on your profile picture. I just don't know if you can talk about lying on your profile or being untruthful, girl.
Because
I don't know if you have a leg to stand on there, girl.
They're not height like me, and I would rather just be honest. Like, this guy said he was 5'5". When we met in person, it was like eyes at the same kind of level. So I was like, is he really 5'5"? I don't think so. I'm skeptical. So, like, honestly, men, if you're watching this, don't lie about your height. The right kind of person for you is not going to care. And also, I think it's really silly when, like, a guy says he's 6 foot, but he's actually 5'10". Like, just say you're 5'10". Anyways, that's just my 2 cents about that. Okay, these are good. Here are my honorable mentions, okay? Some of these are honorable to mention for good things, some not so good things. We're starting out with dangly earrings. If you've been following me, you already...
Dangly earrings was a big one, okay? As someone who has been following her, I think she really liked dangly earrings. She gives all the guys nicknames, by the way. The Dangly Earrings was his nickname for some reason.
Heard about Dangly Earrings. If you're new here, Dangly Earrings was a guy I went out with, and on the first date,
I think Dangly Earrings, or one of them, did ask her to stop talking about him, but Molly doesn't play like that.
Literally showed up with Dangly Earrings. He was such a cutie patootie. He was so nice, so smart. He was actually the pool designer guy. And I had a great time with him on our first date. He's
okay, if I'm remembering correctly, I think she didn't tell us Dangly Earring's profession because it was so specific that we could find out who he was. So the fact that she just dropped that lore so casually is wild, especially after I'm pretty sure Dangly Earrings guy was the one that wanted her to stop talking about him. So it is kind of cringe, girl, that you're still talking about him if he asked you to not talk about him.
One of the guys I went on an additional date with. Especially and let me tell you, he pulled out all the stops for our second date. He literally sent me paragraphs with, like, his idea for what to do. And the original idea for our second date was to go to a park and go see the eternal flame, like, super romantic. But he did the hike himself the week prior to the date, and he injured himself, so that got eliminated. But instead, he's the one I did the activity where we went to the park and I got a smoothie. And so I really just appreciated not only how much effort he put into planning our dates, but also he was just a really nice guy, really creative, down to earth. And the best part about this man, after our second date, he called me on the phone and ended things with me. And I know you're thinking, like, why is that a good thing? I don't know about you, but never in my life, I'm 33 years old. Well, I'll be 33 in like 2 weeks. Never in my life have I gone on 2 dates with a man who then decided to end it and called me to tell me that in a respectful and kind way. Have you? Have you experienced that?
Yeah, but what did he tell you, girl?
Or like a one-sided ghost. I've never experienced that. And this boy was young. This man was young. Like, Dangly Earrings, I don't know if you'll ever see this, but if you do, hats off to you. I thought you handled it with such maturity.
See this.
And there are so many people at this day and age in modern dating who do not have the courage that you did to make that phone call. I just really respect you for that. And so yeah, Dangly Earings deserves an honorable mention. Now to the next guy who's getting a dishonorable mention.
This is not good.
This man. So
This is not good. We're sitting down vibes for a second. It's like as low as I could make it to have this still in frame. Maybe I can go a little bit. Okay, I just have to sit up. Okay, Molly, what happened with this guy?
Oh, he came to Buffalo from abroad. He had only been living here a month, and we met up at a bar restaurant, okay? And this guy was admittedly and noticeably very shy, very timid, a bit socially awkward. But I'll be honest, I found it very endearing. I don't always think that way of guys who are shy or quiet because I'm so extroverted and outgoing. But with this guy, it was really sweet. Like, there was something about him I actually really liked. And so I was having a great time on our first date. And so after we were outside drinking for a bit, we went in and we sat at a booth together. He asked me to sit next to him at the booth, really cute. We, getting closer and closer, got flirty. We start kissing. 30 seconds into kissing, hands on the tatas. Naturally, I back away and I'm like, excuse me? And he proceeds to tell me that his most recent hookup was with a girl from Spain who, I guess while they were making out, told him, why aren't you touching my... And so then his lack of social awareness led him to believe that all women want you to touch them there when you're kissing. I had to school this man about how every woman is different. Every woman is different. And how...
This is... I'm gonna let her finish.
Just like a rule of thumb, just as a rule of thumb, err on the side of caution and assume that when you're making out with someone in a public space, they don't want you to touch them there. Just like, as a rule of thumb, like, lean on that side of things. Jesus fucking Christ. Moving on.
So I agree. I think that, like, you should definitely err on the side of caution, and it also just has so much to do with the context of where you are, how well you know the person, all this stuff, right? Intimacy is so complicated. It is just so complicated. It's so hard to, like, know what the right thing is to do, and I don't think that he should have grabbed her in that way without asking, right? Like, it's the best way to do it, right, is to ask. Just be like maybe, if you're like have your have your hands around someone, you could be like, ooh, can I touch you? Like, you can do it in a sexy way.
You might have seen me. You remember, like, oh, is it the tax date girl? Yeah, I'm the tax date girl, okay? I went out with a guy, or no, I was going to go out with a guy who was going to help me do my taxes.
At least she's self-aware.
Ghosting me. Literally, as I'm already at the place we were supposed to meet, okay? The internet went crazy over this. Like, legit crazy over this, because people thought that I was really going to be giving my social security number to a random guy.
So this is a guy who was, like, 23, she's 32, and she was gonna have him do her taxes on the first date, which is wild, which is just a absolutely wild thing to do.
That interesting. Like, me and this guy had some banter back and forth about, like, how tax season was coming to a close and taxes were due that weekend, and I was stressed about it because I had income from TikTok and Turkey, and I was confused how to do it, and he offered to help me. And now, did that mean I was going to open up my personal financial information and my social security number to this guy on a first date? No! Instead, he was doing research for me to find the type of forms that I needed to fill out to file my taxes correctly.
I think she's stretching the truth a little bit. I think she's rewriting history a little bit. 'Cause, girl, you really were on camera saying that this guy was gonna do your taxes. That's what you said. You didn't say he was gonna do research for you. I think that you're kind of rewriting history because you got canceled a little bit. And that is a little cringe, okay? Live action dating content is really hard, girl. If you're gonna film everything you're doing as you're doing it, you can't rewrite history because we watched it live. And you know what 5 cringe points equals? Another canceled point, girl. That's not good. We might need a Notes app apology in the future.
That was all that was going to happen. But it goes to me anyways, so that story was never complete. But the internet lived on, and this is one of the most viral internet sagas to date, so I gotta give him an honorable mention. Thank you for texting me. Thank you for offering to help me with my taxes and helping me.
I think that's one of the frustrations with Molly, is that she kind of wants to have her cake and eat it too. She wants to go viral. She wants to make dating content, but she also doesn't want the criticism that comes with it. She doesn't want to go viral in the wrong way. She doesn't want people finding her dating profiles and stuff. It's just frustrating because, like, not only does she have unrealistic expectations in dating, she also has really unrealistic expectations for the internet. And that was one of the criticisms with her with this tax bro, is like, you're putting yourself in dangerous positions. Girl, if you're gonna put yourself online, if you're gonna put this information online, you have to accept that people are gonna criticize you for it. I'm sorry. Like, anything in my life that I want to keep sacred, like my dating life, I'm not gonna subject it to the internet. That's not my content. And I've done this, girl. I have shared things with the internet that I wish that I could take back. I've shared things about my identity. I've shared things about my social circles. I've done so many things. I've put so many things out on the internet, and now I will just live with it forever. I have to live with the things that I said when I was 19, right? On the internet, even though I'm 26. I was on MTV when I was 17. When I was 17, I was on MTV's True Life, I'm Genderqueer, and I said things about my identity, about queerness in general, that I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, because I was 17, and I had just come out, in that year. I think I came out on the episode, and if I could go back, I would take a lot back that I've said, because the internet is forever. Time doesn't exist on the internet, okay? Like, people will bring things up with me in my comments that happened 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? That I still get comments about MTV's True Life. and I will get comments about MTV's True Life for the rest of my life. And I think that is just something that you have to accept, Molly, as a 32-year-old adult. You have to know that putting this intimate information on the internet comes at the cost of the internet knowing these intimate things about your life and picking it apart. Nothing is sacred once you put it on the internet. So if you want to keep your dating life sacred, you can't be talking about it. But you have to talk about it because that's your job. These are the things that you've got to, come to terms with. You've got to weigh the options. You can't be mad at us. I didn't mean to turn this into a rant, but you really can't be mad at the internet for picking apart your dating life when you're picking apart your dating life in a PowerPoint on the internet. I'm an adult. Breathe. Your feelings of anger are also sacred and should not be put on the internet to be picked apart. Okay. Should I say it's cringe to expect the internet to not be the internet about you? No, it's fine. It's fine. Y'all already know how I feel about it. Okay, I'm just gonna say it.
It's my Ithaca adventure, so, oh my god. So this date. Randomly, one night, I was on Hinge, and I matched with this guy. We had a good conversation, found out he's British, in town for work, and he was in Ithaca visiting family. And I'm 3 hours from Ithaca, I live in Buffalo. And so, I decided impulsively to rent a car and go meet this man the next day. And I posted the whole thing about it.
Usually I'd say that I'm sat for this, but I'm gonna stand back up. So just give me a moment here.
And I had a wonderful date with this guy. We went to a brewery, then we went to a park and sat on this swing. The sky was beautiful. We were overlooking a lake, and then we also went to a cafe. Like, I just had the most romantic day with this man. It was a lovely date. We have not talked since. I could tell from his, farewell text to...
That's crazy to drive 2 hours and then on a date, have a good date, and then get ghosted. I wonder why that happened. People were saying it was crazy for her to go drive 2 hours for someone that she was literally just met on a dating app. But the thing is, may I suggest, have you met lesbians? In the queer world, that's actually not so... That's not crazy. Honestly, I wouldn't drive 2 hours, but my standards are incredibly high and my motivation is incredibly low. But I did drive 3 hours to go see Dan and Phil live for the third time. So who am I to judge a 2-hour drive for a date? So I didn't think that was too crazy. And she said she liked the date. So what's the problem? I guess let me try to go to my mind palace and remember what the situation was. There was also conversation about her plan to do her makeup and change in the car. She packed too many snacks, which I think maybe was just fat phobic, okay? If I'm going on a 10-minute drive, I want hella snacks in my car. Don't ever say I was never on your side, Molly.
Texted me after the date that he probably wasn't going to see me again because it was just a very definitive text. He spoke very highly of the date. He spoke very highly of me and our connection, but it just didn't sound like he was wanting to maintain connection from abroad or anything like that. So it's just this sweet, romantic, impulsive, spontaneous adventure date. And it was lovely.
Least problematic date you went on, girl.
All right, so with that being said, here are my goals for next year. As I mentioned before, one of my goals is to go on more activity dates, but I'm going to be specific here. I'd like to go on activity dates for the first date. I should put in more effort to do that, I think. My next goal is to date women and...
Is she coming out? She's coming out to us. I know that my tone is unreadable, and I know that sounded sarcastic, but I'm being 100% serious. I did not expect her to come out to us. Girl, welcome to the community. Yes, girl. Try dating women. You go.
Non-binary people, because I am bisexual. I am definitely attracted to women and non-binary people. I've just never fully explored that part of myself. And I'll be honest, I'm really intimidated by it because I feel with men, I have this way of I don't want to say manipulate them, but you know what I mean. I just think I know my way of flirting and interacting with men. I'm just very familiar with how to do that and what those dynamics are like. Whereas with women, it's just it makes me more intimidated. Like, it just makes me feel more vulnerable because women see through everything. And so when I'm with a woman, it just feels like I'm already naked. And like, I don't mean that physically, but it's like my soul. I feel like everything is just like completely bare. And whereas with men, I think it's easier for me to have my guard up. And so I think that's why I'm like a little bit avoidant of it. But I really want to encourage myself to explore that because I think that's something I would regret. Especially if I do end up with a man or marry a man. I think a part of me would always wonder what would be if I explored that part of my sexuality. So that's a big goal for me. And then, as always, it's just to meet more people. Like, I don't even know if that can be really considered a goal. I feel like that's just a byproduct of dating.
Maybe I celebrated too quickly. I would really have to think about that answer before I make, like, an official, like, I don't like how she talks about that. One of the things that Molly is often criticized for is centering men in everything that she does. She allows men a lot of power over her. Not even just one specific man, just men in general, dating in general, seems to have a lot of power over her. I didn't really finish my thought there, so Editing Brennan is coming in to finish it. Putting my phone on my water bottle is maybe not the best tripod. But anyway, what I was trying to say is that if you are a woman trying to date women, in order to do it, like, ethically, respectfully, seriously, you should probably figure out a way to decenter men in your relationships, and it just does not seem, from the looks of it, from the outside perspective, that Molly has effectively done that. Okay, I'm gonna think about it, and then I'm gonna come back with an answer. Okay, I thought about it for 2 seconds. I did not think that we were going to have this conversation in a Molly Rutter video. I thought that I was just going to talk about her dating life. I did not watch this video before reacting to it because I wanted to have an authentic reaction. That's what reaction content is. Ooh, welcome to my channel, subscribe. But I'm queer, and I came out when I was 17 on MTV's True Life, and I'm 26 now. I'm about to turn 27. Saturn return. So I've been in the queer community for like 10 years. And I think that there's the way that Molly just talked about it is she kind of wants to just like experiment. You know, she just wants to experiment with queerness, with women, without necessarily taking on the burden of queerness, the identity of queerness, the culture of queerness, right? I think queerness is so much more than experimenting with the same sex. And I think that it's kind of condescending and reductive of the queer experience to just say, I want to try dating women just for funsies before I marry a man. I don't think she's being homophobic or anything, but I do think that that is just the way that someone who does not really know very much about the queer community, or who kind of only watches the queer community from afar, would talk about queerness. I think women don't want to be an experiment. Queer women don't want to be a stepping stone to see what it's like before they settle down with a man. I think that queer women want to be respected and seen as legitimate dating prospects. I think that she needs to do some reflection on that. I think that if you're gonna take on a queer label like bisexual, you've got to understand what that comes with, especially if you're going to talk about it publicly, which brings me back to my original point. She could go her whole life just thinking that, date women on the fly and you know, make out with a girl at the club and then go marry a man and be fine. Like, no one would have to be subjected to that, right? On a massive scale. But because she has this platform, because a lot of people are looking at her, I have to talk about it. I have to be subjected to that as a queer person who is unequivocally forever queer. There's no way that I have top surgery scars. There's no way that I can ever go through life just try queerness for fun and then head out. You know, there's no way that I can escape queerness. And so to hear someone talk about queerness as if it's just like a fun thing I'd like to try is just a little condescending and reductive of what it truly means to be a woman dating women and non-binary people, which is like, non-binary is not a third gender. Just like, I don't know if I like how to say that any other way, but non-binary is like this very broad, all-encompassing identity that includes so many identities, that like, to say that you want to try dating women and non-binary people because you've only ever dated men, that it's just representative of like where you're at in your knowledge about the queer community. I just didn't think we'd be having this conversation, but she started it. Okay, she started it. Being reductive of the queer experience is a little cringe. Did I say that it was canceled? Or did I say that it was cringe? Sometimes I forget what points I put for what. There is still like 3 minutes to this video. I don't know what else she could say.
But yeah, I love meeting people. Maybe, to be more specific, I think what I would like is to meet more people that I like maintain connections with. Like, one of my best friends, she's really good at this. She'll go on dates with people, and even if it doesn't lead somewhere, she maintains a friendship with them. I've never been able to do that successfully, and she does it very consciously. It's because she talks a lot about how she likes to have community, and that takes all sorts. And so I'm not saying like every person I want to date with I should become their best friend, but like, I don't see harm in maintaining connections with people, even if it doesn't lead to something romantic. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Dangly Earrings, if you're watching this, I would love to be your friend. Like, I just think you're so cool. I hope this reaches him one day, but anyways, just like people like him, where yes, we had a good time, I liked him as a human, and just because we weren't gonna date long term, it ended, and I never spoke to those people again. And I think with that in dating comes a lot of...
I think lack of self-awareness is something that Molly is often criticized for and is kind of cringe. I think that a lot of people, they think that Molly is evil. They think that she's like lying on purpose. But I really don't think it's that deep. I think that she really just lacks a lot of self-awareness. She kind of twists things in her head without even knowing, just to like come out as a better person than maybe she was in a situation. Like with the dangly earring situation, maybe it ended on worse terms than she remembers it. Maybe he did that phone call because he really needed her to know, to kind of back off a little bit, and she's not really backed off. Maybe y'all are not friends for a reason. Maybe one of the reasons she finds it more difficult to be friends with the people she dates is because she has these unrealistic expectations for them. She talks about them as the dates are happening. That's really, really difficult to navigate. And it's a lot to ask of someone. Like, it's one thing to put all of your dating business on the internet, but to put a stranger's dating business on the internet, it'll come back to them. And they didn't sign up for that, right? And so she doesn't like being criticized on the internet for what she talks about. Imagine how they feel. They didn't even consent to having all of that on the internet in the way that it is, right? Like, she's not posting on Facebook and getting 3 likes about these dates. She's getting millions of people to comment on it, and you think that those millions of people are not finding out who these men are? Aren't friends of those men, people in those men's lives, right? I just think that her lack of self-awareness kind of puts people in uncomfortable positions, you know, at best, and it can be dangerous at worst.
Grief. And so that's one of my goals. I'm still single.
Not ladies hit me up. Molly girl. Molly.
Wing women, help me. And ladies, hit me up. Love ya. See you next year. Forgot to mention, I actually have this entire presentation available as a Canva template. If you go to the link in my bio, you can purchase it. If you're interested, I have the one from last year and this year up. So if you want to make your own dating wrapped, it's there for you.
How much is it? If it's under $20 and this video gets... How many likes did my last video get? I'm trying to set like a realistic goal because I do kind of want to do it. My last video got 736 likes. If this video gets 1,000 likes and it's under $20, I will buy her template and do my own dating wrap for 2024 with her template. It's $5. I know how I literally was just like, girl, if you don't want your dating life picked apart, then don't put it on the internet. And then like my whole point was that like I keep my dating life private. I'll tell you my dating life for likes and clout. I'm not above that. If Molly can do it, so can I. If this video gets 1,000 likes, I will buy her dating wrapped template and make a video with my dating wrapped. You heard him. Like this video if you want to see my dating wrapped of 2024 as told by Molly Rutter. To be honest, I don't really know if it would be that interesting because I didn't really go on that many dates in 2024. But I could make it funny, okay? And I think it would be funny. My New Year's resolution is to make a video every week, so please subscribe. It's gonna be a lot of reaction content. I have a big video about Dan and Phil plan, but for the most part, it's gonna be cringe or canceled. I think this is a really fun, like, lighthearted format, so it's cute. But this is Molly Rutter's cringe or cancel count. To be honest, not as bad as I thought it would be. She has the same amount of cancel points as the Try Guys did for cutting in line at Disney World, so if that is any indication of how arbitrary this point system is, I don't know what else is. But yeah, girl, I think that you just need a little bit more self-awareness. I think that you just need to have maybe like level your expectations a little bit and be a little bit more real about the results of putting your dating life and something so intimate and sacred out onto the internet for us to pick it apart. I think that that kind of self-awareness comes with a lot of criticism like this. But you know what? I wish the best for her. I hope that her dating life is good this year, and I hope that maybe she learns a thing or two about queerness. That was another surprise. I really didn't expect her to say that, but that was so Molly. That was so Molly of her. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, this is just for fun. Do not go bother Molly. Leave her alone, okay? And I hope you enjoyed. Bye.